Hello everybody and welcome to another episode. In today's episode I'm going to show you how to properly remove or replace the entire gearbox or the entire clutch kit from any Volkswagen Passat, Volkswagen Golf, Seat, Audi, Skoda and so on. Any car made by Volkswagen which has the engine 1.9 or 2.0 TDI pumped diesel. So right here on this vehicle, as you can see, this vehicle is equipped with a manual transmission, and this is a Volkswagen Passat B5.5 from the year 2003 with the engine code AVX. So right here, the first thing which you have to do if you want to replace the entire clutch kit from this kind of vehicle is to remove the gearbox. And to remove the gearbox, you'll have to remove all of these pipes from right here, from the top of the engine, from the back. So you'll have to remove the coolant reservoir and put it away, and you'll have to remove also this pipe which is coming out from the EGR valve and which is going into the intercooler. And after that, you'll have to go right here underneath the engine. You'll have to remove the transmission mounting supports completely out from the transmission. You'll have to remove the extras from the vehicle. You'll have to remove the cables which are going out from the shifter and which are going into the gearbox. And also you have to remove the connectors and also all the cables which are connected and attached to the gearbox. As you can see on this vehicle, the connectors are right here on the driver's side, for example, on the right side if you're looking from the front of the vehicle. And after that, in the last, you'll have to remove the starter and all the bolts which are securing the gearbox attached to the engine all around the gearbox. Right here, this is the cable which is securing the shifter attached to the gearbox, and you'll have to remove this bolt using a 10mm socket, and you'll have to slide it out from the gearbox. Alright everybody, so far I managed to remove the extras out from the gearbox, and also I disconnected the pipe which is coming out from the EGR and which is going into the intercooler, and I disconnected all of these lines which were right here in this location attached to the pipe, and you have to remove them from the pipe and you have to put them away just to create enough space to work on the gearbox and remove the bolts from the back of the engine. Right here, this is a little bit difficult to remove all the connectors which are attached to the gearbox, and also you have to be very carefully to not break them because it's very difficult to reach them, and also it's very difficult to fix them in this closed position. And right here in the back of the engine, you'll have to remove all of the bolts which are securing the gearbox attached to the engine from the top part and in the back. Right here, for example, on the left side and on the driver's side, you have to remove the top control arms, and you have to disconnect the tie rod end just to make sure that you have enough space to pull out the suspension part, and you have to remove the axle in this way. It's a little bit difficult to remove the screws which are securing the axle attached to the gearbox, but it can be done with a long extension and with a little bit of luck. On the passenger side, everything is exactly the same like on the driver's side. You'll have to remove the top control arms, you'll have to disconnect the tie rod end, and you'll have to pull the axle out from the gearbox. As you can see, right here I have the right axle, and on the other side of the garage I have the left axle from this kind of vehicle. Right now, the next thing which I'm going to do is to leave the engine a little bit. I'm going to disconnect all the parts from the transmission, and I'm going to remove the transmission out from the vehicle. Okay everybody, so far I managed to disconnect a lot of things. If you go right here in the back of the engine, this is a very important bolt which you have to remove. It's very difficult to reach, but it can be done if you have the proper tools and if you have some patience to do it. And right here underneath the vehicle, you'll have to use a jack stand to support the weight of the engine, because you have to lift it a little bit up, and you have to put a piece of wood between the engine and the jack stand because you don't want to crack the oil pan. You'll have to lift it until it will give you easier access to remove the starter out from the vehicle. In my case, I didn't disconnect it completely. I only removed it from the gearbox and I let it aside. And also I managed to disconnect both of the transmission mounting supports, and in my case both of them are completely broken, they are shocked, and they have to be replaced as soon as possible. Another thing which is very important is that we have to leave the engine enough in the air using a jack stand, because we have to remove all of these bolts from right here, from the bottom area, which are securing the gearbox attached to the oil pan, and if you're not able to remove them correctly, the oil pan or the gearbox won't come out from the vehicle. So you have to make sure that to remove all of these bolts, you have to use a spanner and also a 60mm socket or something like that, or a long extension, which will help you to remove the bolts from under the gearbox. And after that, you can go ahead and remove the shifter lines. The first one is this one, which is secured to the gearbox with one bolt, and the second one is this one, which is sliding over the gearbox over this metal part. After you disconnect both of them, you can go ahead and disconnect the gearbox completely out from the vehicle and remove it out. Alright everybody, so as you can see, the gearbox is completely removed out from the vehicle. This is how the gearbox is looking on this car and on this kind of engine. So this transmission, it's a 5-speed manual transmission plus reverse, so probably this will be a 6-speed. And in my case, the internal parts are not in the worst condition. They are still working, but the clutch was slipping too much. The clutch was in a very bad condition. I couldn't do even one overtake, because if I tried to press the gas pedal a little bit harder, the clutch will slip and the car will not be very safe to drive. So in the backside, those are all the holes which are securing the gearbox attached to the engine. And to remove the gearbox, you'll have to remove all the bolts which are mounted in all of these holes. Also right here on the back of the gearbox, those are all the connectors which you have to disconnect the connectors from. And in my case, the transmission is looking very good. At the end of this video, I'm going to replace also the oil from the transmission, just to make sure that everything is safe and ready to go. I'm going to give a wash to the transmission, and also I will try to clean the engine area. And right here from the engine, this is the clutch pressure plate, and also the flywheel which is attached to the engine. Right here, those are all the connectors which you have to disconnect to reach the transmission and remove it out from the vehicle. And right here, this is the brake line. This is a line which is going into the clutch pump, which is pushing the clutch bearing over the clutch pressure plate. And right now, the next thing which I'm going to do is to disconnect and remove the clutch kit and also the clutch pressure plate completely out from the engine. And depending of what model and what brand you have installed on the vehicle, it will be secured with 6 bolts or with 8 bolts over the flywheel. Right here, to remove the clutch pressure plate, after you finish removing all the bolts, you'll have to pull it out, and if it's not coming out, you'll have to use a flat screwdriver and put it underneath and push it out. In my case, as you can see, the clutch pressure plate is extremely worn out, it's overheated, and also it's bent. And right here, the clutch disc is still attached to the flywheel. It's a little bit locked to the flywheel, but if you put a screwdriver underneath, you will manage to push it out from the engine. In my case, because the clutch was slipping a lot, the car was not safe to drive at all. And as you can see, the clutch disc is very worn out. But from what I can see, I also have a lot of oil right here over the flywheel. And from my experience, this was also a reason why the clutch disc was slipping a lot and why the car was not safe to drive at all. Right now, the next thing which I'm going to do is to clean all the parts. I'm going to remove also this bearing from right here from the crankshaft. I'm going to replace this bearing with a brand new one, and I'm going to wash the engine and clean all the parts before trying to install brand new parts over them and in their place. Very good, everybody. So as you can see, I just finished cleaning the transmission. Everything is washed, everything is cleaned and ready to be installed back over the vehicle. The first thing which I'm going to do right now is to replace all the replacement parts with brand new ones. I'm going to replace the clutch pump from right here with a brand new one made by Sachs. And to replace it, you have to remove this bolt from right here from the bottom, and you have to slide it out from the gearbox. After that, you have to replace the clutch fork and also the clutch bearing with a brand new one. And in my case, I'm going to replace also the clutch bearing mounting bracket, just to make sure that the job is done correctly and safe. Right here, this is the brand new clutch pump made by Sachs, which I'm going to install right here in the place of the old one. Just remove the bolt from the old one and install the new one in its place. After that, right here in this little box, I have the bearing which is going to be installed into the crankshaft. After that, right here I have the metal forge which I'm going to install on the gearbox. I'm going to remove the old one and I'm going to put this brand new one in its place. It will be secured right here in this position. And after that, right here in this box, I have the clutch bearing mounting bracket which I'm going to install back into the transmission. And my recommendation is to lubricate the O-rings very good before trying to install them into the transmission, just to make sure that it will slide very easy back in its place. And right here in this box made by Luke, I have the brand new parts which I'm going to install back over the transmission. This is the clutch bearing. It will be fitted right here in the place of the old one, and it will be looking exactly like this. After that, this one is the clutch pressure plate. All of those parts are brand new. They are very good looking, and also they are very high quality ones. And right here I have the clutch pressure plate and the clutch disc. The clutch disc is perfectly. You'll have to make sure that you install it in the correct position. You have to make sure that the correct side, which is rated gearbox side or jet rebate side, something like that, it will be facing the gearbox. Right here, as you can see, this is the clutch bearing mounting bracket. You have to remove the 3 bolts which are securing it mounted in place. You have to slide it open and out, and you have to install the brand new one in its place into the correct position. Just make sure to install it correctly, because you have only one side which is correctly, and if you put it wrong, probably it will leak oil or something like that in the future. And right now, in this moment, it's a very good time to check for any movement in the parts and for any play. And as you can see, in my case, all the elements are very stiff, they are working correctly. I have no play or movement, so this is a very good sign. And from here, I can install all the parts back over the gearbox, and then I can install them back over the engine. Right here, for the clutch bearing mounting bracket, you have to install it like this. Only this one is the correct position. So if you put it wrong, don't worry, just slide it over into the correct position and you'll be safe and you'll be good to go. As you can see, this is the correct position. You have to put it like this, with the 2 dots facing the exterior in the left side, and where the part has no dots, you have to put it on the right side. So right now the part is correctly installed over the gearbox. You'll have to tighten it to spec. You have to put the 3 bolts and you have to tie them to 70 Newton meters, and after that you can install the rest of the parts back of the gearbox. Alright everybody, so as you can see, all the brand new parts are installed back into the gearbox, and the gearbox is ready to be installed back over the engine. As you can see, the clutch bearing, the forge, it's moving very easy, up and down, it's moving fluidly. Also, the clutch pump is installed back over the gearbox and everything is tightened and ready to go. And from here, I already washed and cleaned the engine area. Everything is ready to go right here into the engine. And right now, for example, the only thing which I have to do is to remove the bearing which is installed into the crankshaft. You'll have to remove it, and I'm going to show you in a second how to remove it. As you can see, the engine area is looking very good. The flywheel has no movements, and in my case, I did not replace the flywheel. The flywheel is still the old one. And in my case, I'm not going to replace the flywheel because there is no need to. The flywheel is moving and working perfectly fine. But in your case, if the flywheel is moving too much or if it's making a rattling noise, you'll have to replace it as soon as possible if you're doing this kind of job. Right here, this is the little bearing which is installed into the crankshaft area, right here in the back of the engine. And the only way to remove it easy without any tools is to take a nut and a bolt, and you have to put the bolt facing inside the bearing area, and with the flat screwdriver you have to hold the nut from not spinning around when you try to tighten the bolt into the nut. I hope you all understand exactly what I'm trying to tell you, but if you do it like this, the bearing will come out and it will not be such a big deal to remove it. Right now the bearing is almost out from the flywheel, I mean from the crankshaft area. You have to put something underneath to remove it out, like I did right here. And right now, everything is ready to go. I'm going to clean the area and I'm going to install the brand new one in its place. Right here, this is the brand new bearing which I'm going to install back in its place. And to install it, you have to take a socket, which is the size of the bearing, and you have to tap it with a hammer slightly until it will fit properly into place. Make sure to install it correctly. Don't over tap it. If you feel that it's not going in anymore, you'll have to stop, and that's it. Right here in this moment I'm using this 17mm socket because this is the correct size for the bearing in my case, but in your case probably it will be a different one if you're working on a different vehicle or something like that. And right now, as you can see, the bearing is completely pushed in, it's ready to be installed back in the vehicle, everything is ready to go, and from here I can go ahead and install the gearbox back over the vehicle. Alright everybody, one very important thing which you have to follow is to install the clutch disc into the correct position facing the gearbox, and right here on one side it will be written gearbox side or JTBT side in German or something like that, and you have to put it facing the gearbox. Right now, for example, I'm installing it facing the gearbox, and you have to install it like this over the vehicle. You have to put it with the side where is nothing written on it facing the flywheel, and with the side which is written gearbox side or JTBT side facing the gearbox. And after that you have to align it using a special tool over the flywheel, and you have to install it back over the vehicle properly like it's supposed to be installed. In my case, I'm using this special tool which is helping me to put pressure over the pressure plate and install it correctly over the flywheel. And also in this kind of tool I have another special tool which is helping me to align the clutch disc with the clutch pressure plate and with the flywheel, and it will make the installment of the gearbox very easy after that. Right here, this is the tool which will align the clutch disc over the clutch pressure plate and over the flywheel. This entire tool, if you want to buy it, I think it will cost you about 200 euros or something like that, depending on where you are trying to buy it. But if you are working with gearboxes, it's a must go, and it's a must and a very important tool to have. Right now, for example, I'm putting pressure over the clutch pressure plate to align it and to make sure that all the bolts which will secure it mounted to the flywheel will be installed correctly, and to make sure that all the bolts will be tied to spec correctly and evenly. And after you finish installing 3 bolts, because in my case this is a 6 bolts clutch kit, but if it's 8 bolts you'll have to install also 4 bolts, and after you remove the tool you have to install the other 4 in its place. In my case, as you can see, the 3 bolts are installed back over the clutch pressure plate, and you have to tie them to spec. And for this kind of vehicle you have to tie them to 30 Newton meters, but depending on what model and what vehicle you have, or what gearbox and clutch kit you have, it will be different, the Newton meter tightness. And if you don't know how much to tight on your vehicle or the torque for your vehicle, I recommend you all to tight it to 30 Newton meters, because it's more than enough on most of the vehicles. Very good, everybody. So as also the clutch pressure plate, it's almost 100% installed back over the vehicle. I just finished installing 3 bolts, and right now I'm going to remove the tool and I'm going to install the rest of the 3 bolts in the place of the tool. Make sure to install them to 30 Newton meters just to be safe and to make sure that you did a very good job on your car. Okay, everybody, so the clutch pressure plate and the clutch disc are installed back over the vehicle. They're installed properly, everything is tighted to spec. Also, as you can see, the clutch pressure plate, it's installed over the flywheel into the correct position, and the clutch disc is perfectly aligned with the clutch pressure plate and with the bearing from the crankshaft. Right now, I'm not going to show you all how to install back the gearbox over the vehicle, because there is no need to, because you already know how to remove it, because I showed you earlier. Right here, I'm removing the filling plug for the oil, because I'm going to replace also the oil from this kind of gearbox. And right here down, it will be the drain plug for the oil on this kind of gearbox and on the manual transmission on this kind of Volkswagen cars. This kind of transmission or gearbox, and normally the gearboxes which are made by Volkswagen, will take around 2 or 2.5 liters of brand new oil, but I recommend all to always buy 3. And you have to put it into the filling plug, and when you see that the oil, it will leak out from the filling plug, this is meaning that the oil and the current amount of oil has been reached. And then you can put back the filling plug and tight it to spec like the manufacturer is telling you to do. Alright, everybody, so as also, this was a video about how to remove and install a brand new clutch kit, or how to remove and install a gearbox on any Volkswagen car with the engine 1.9 or 2.0 TDI pumped diesel. And in this video, the job is completely done. The only thing which I have to do is to take the car for a ride, and if I have to, I'll have to bleed the system a little bit more, but most likely the job is done. Everything is installed back over the vehicle, everything is tighted to spec, everything is ready to go. This car, it's made in the year 2003, but it's not important how old the car it is, because the steps and the method are exactly the same like this one. From here, this is all you have to do. Thank you all for watching. If you liked the video and found it informative, please leave a like and a comment down below. See you next time.